All right, nice. Well, I'll keep this short since lunch is already out, so we'll run through this real quick. But yeah, I'm happy that everybody has already gone through some of the other productivity stuff with their product. So looking to show you some of our software stuff as well. I came from the field, so I'm relatively new to Distech. I've only been here for a year, but I've used these tools over my career a lot of times. It was very helpful to kind of get through all of the different challenges that I had on my projects. So today I'm going to talk about Builder, Atrius Facilities, and then some of the upcoming things that we have. Kind of a teaser, but it's also showing you maybe like tools that you guys can develop internally or where the industry might be going in the future. So we're going to go into Builder, and I will demo this directly on the website. So hopefully internet still works when I'm up here. But Builder's kind of our all-in-one web application to get you a program file, points lists, a start of a drawing, all of that stuff to kind of get you started on a project. Hopefully gets you to 80, 85, 90% of the project. And then you guys can finish the rest if there's customization or other workflow things that you guys like to do. But we're hoping that we can get you close to everything that gets you somewhere outside of the box, like done on the site. And this is for custom stuff. We do have preloaded applications in all of our controllers when they're shipped. So VAVs and more typical terminal units will have preloaded applications that are configurable, very similar to other products in the market as well. So we'll hop over into Builder. And so Builder, oops, still in presentation mode. Let's go back to this. Oops. Did that end? All right. It added it as a separate screen. Fun times. All right, so in Builder, as I said, just a website, login from our typical login from Distech Controls. So you should have access to this. Hopefully a lot of you guys have already started using the Builder tool. And it pretty much just creates drop-down menus for complete compilation of programs and points lists as mentioned. The pros for this, instead of a preloaded application, we can kind of strip the things that you don't need to allocate more resources to the controllers instead of just creating a one-size-fits-all application. This is a little bit more tailored to your application as we're going through it and making it a little bit more customizable. So first, we'll go through some of the quicker things to do in Builder. Points list generation. If you have an ECGFX program file, you don't know what the points list is, or you're trying to get an easy Excel file out of this, you can drag and drop a GFX file in here and it will auto-populate a points list for you. So easy way to get you guys some points list or hardware points list if you need to give it to a field guy. The product selection tool, great for people that are kind of new to the controllers or trying to figure out what the best solution is for their applications. Run through all the drop downs, select your inputs, select your outputs, go through all the different IO types. If you get in here, you can actually do advanced and you can go into even more granular data to try to figure out like what might be the perfect solution for you guys. Run through the drop downs the best that you can, and then it will spit out a product selection controller, and that's a great tool for estimating sales guys that want to learn how to kind of like do product selection, all that kind of stuff. It also does very good at load calculations for 24-volt power supplies, right? So if you're doing transformer sizing, any of that kind of stuff, we do have VA ratings per controllers, depending upon what those inputs and outputs are and other peripheral devices. We're gonna add all of the VA for all of that and give you a good recommendation on how to size your transformer. So getting into kind of the meat of Builder is the compiler application, right? So we've created all of our standard equipment lists. I would like to say that a lot of this is in progress and updated and constantly in development. So if you guys have any feedback on things that you'd like to see, get you guys even closer to deliverable when you're done with the application, please let the SSEs or the RSMs at Distech know, and we can deliver this back to product and get this functionality added. So good place to start for where functionality started is our release notes. So we're constantly updating Builder. So we had fixes in modules for the 600 as recent as May 13th. So constantly adding stuff, changing stuff, and making sure that the functionality that you guys need is in the product. So going into here, pretty straightforward. It is a live application, so you're running all of this stuff. You have controller drop-downs, so you select your controller. Generation 1 Eclipse controllers are going to have the non-BI at the end. Generation 2 will all be BI, so we do differentiate between our 2 different software flavors in this as well, and then it shows all of our new hardware as well. So as easy as going through BI, checking a box for equipment type, air handler. We do have ASHRAE Guideline 36 compliance in here, so determine response logic. We have a specific section on the GFX program that is auto-populated. It's actually a great tool to show you how we pass data back and forth and effectively. So even if you're not using Guideline 36, it's kind of a good template to show you guys how to pass data across networks. So we can click Guideline 36, choose multiple zones. It's probably single zones, probably the best idea. And then just grow down to additional functionality. You have economizers, coils, all of that kind of stuff. You know, typical mechanical setup. And then we can get into inputs, kind of drop down what your physical inputs are, what you need, temperature types, all of those kinds of things. One of the things that we do really good is, let me see if I can find one. We have options for like auxiliary contacts, but there's also a spot in here to get, maybe not in the air handler application. There's a spot in here where we can actually share data across multiple controllers. So it says network value or analog value, like a BACnet object. So if you're sharing data across controllers, we do a really good job of getting all of those use cases in here. So that's a good indication in the dropdown for inputs as well. So if you see that, that's software instead of physical hardware. Fan control, just different options for your supply fan. And then equipment control, again, outside air, economizer, cooling coils, all those kinds of things. And then we get into the stuff that is pre-populated, kind of gets you to getting close to some engineering documents. Again, you can get DWGs, you can get Visio files, so you can always edit these after the fact. The PDFs are great. This is a great tool to give to specification engineers, consulting engineers that might not be familiar, but you're getting them to a place where they can create bid documents, any of those kinds of things. And then we do have a graphic creation tool as well. So we do have, with 3 drop-downs for our graphic types. Eclipse 1 would be our first generation controllers. Eclipse Facilities, which is pretty much most of our controllers now. And these graphics can all live on all of our controllers, correct? And then Tritium ECNet. So if I click that, these are Eclipse Designer graphics. They'll generate that designer file. And then that kind of gets us into that. I'm not gonna go through the compile and download. It takes 30 seconds to a minute, but I have all this stuff kind of already pre-populated for us. So when we get to, let's go back over here, and I'll actually just drag this back over. Come on. So when we get to this point, after I compile, I'm brought up with this screen. So graphics compiles, this is kind of the best way for us to show the graphics without actually having a controller live. This shows the exact designer file for you. This is a built-up air handler, obviously. This is the DG file that would get exported. And then the other points are also in the web UI as well, and then you can download them as a zip file. So go into how that works. So it gets downloaded as a zip file, and then basically opens up with all of these different file formats, rich text files, Excel spreadsheets, and then you get a full designer project. So how that looks when you get them done is you have full drawings that are ready to go, either in PDF or DWGs. And then we have a points list. Oops. We have a points list that's available. So these are all actual physical I/O. So this is the actual physical I/O points list. And then we have a BACnet variables list as well. In there, oops, it's on this page. BACnet objects list as well. So that gives you all the AVs, BVs, everything that goes along with that. And then you have a configuration points list that shows all of your I/O. So all of this stuff that comes out of there, already pre-done for you guys. Take it, add to it, anything that you guys need. And then sequence of operation also in full DWG, Visio, CAD. So all this stuff also lives in the GFX files, so it will also export the GFX files for you. That can be GFX files right here. So that can be brought into GFX. You can program from there and kind of have your application done. One thing that I am going to show as well on top of this is our upcoming stuff. We are in development for full wire sheet diagrams as well. So a full graphical representation of the controller. So giving this to an install contractor instead of having to create your own drawings of the graphical representation of the controller. That's ready to go. That's in development. So kind of on its way. And then we'll get into our cloud solution. Dimitri talked about this yesterday a little bit, but Atrius Facilities is another way of deploying our controllers. The nice part about this is all of the functionality we had in our Express Network Companion app is now in our online Atrius Facilities app and can be used in offline mode. So you can log into the SSO and have active online Atrius Facilities access through a phone app, or you can do view local inventory, and I've shown how we scan our controllers to onboard those controllers to Atrius Facilities and build this on the fly. They do not have to be powered up. They can get onboarded. You can configure everything in the cloud, and then as they get deployed, powered up, or get internet access, they will auto populate in the cloud, and then you can do all of your commissioning, checkout, and stuff from that. Helps you utilize installers to get power and internet to the controller and have programmers remotely connect these things, deploy, commission, get off the job, and all that kind of stuff. So we utilize the phone camera for QR code scanning, and then it auto-populates into the tree, and then you get host ID, MAC address, and everything as well. And then from there, you can actually export all of this data into another Excel spreadsheet and be ready to give this to IT if you're doing MAC address reservations or anything like that. Very helpful for IT folks to get this data up front, or if they need to do any sort of whitelisting or anything on domain names, they have that as well. So that will be Atrius Facilities, and I have that up in here as well. So Atrius Facilities is basically like a tree. We have a campus level, a building level, a floor level, and then our device levels. If you go to the campus level, you get to see everything from the campus site. All of this will be devices underneath the campus. So from here, I can manage all of my devices, and then I can manage all of the software on all of my devices. So these are both offline, but you can see that this one isn't updated with the newest software, and then this one has been updated and installs complete and all that kind of stuff. And then if I get to the actual controller itself, or if I get to the floor and go to devices, we can see that my connection status is not connected, but I have onboarded these controllers. So if they do get powered up and get internet access, once they get online, I can get to these controllers remotely without having to do any sort of VPNs, any sort of other connection to get them. So from there, on our devices, we can manage everything in here. I can launch Eclipse Facilities, which are our web UI, to manage all the controllers there, or I can launch GFX and download all of my programs, go through commissioning, debug, do whatever I need to do to get checked out on that. I can also update the packages at this lower level. It shows all of my packages, all the different packages that I have installed, what version they're at, what the latest version is. And then configuration is kind of a good tool for offline setup. So I can pre-upload a GFX program, or I can change network settings, any of those kinds of things that I want to do in advance to having the controller online with internet. And then I can deploy that when it does get installed. So pretty nice tool to kind of alleviate some of these issues with deployment. Again, it does require power and internet, but other than that, no VPNs or anything like that. So that's kind of Atrius Facilities. And then our final updated teaser really is what we might be building in the future for managing multiple devices. So currently we have Express Network Utility. An internal colleague of mine created an application that basically bulk manages all of our Eclipse devices. It's very interesting because it allows us to do pretty much anything that we have in our Eclipse facilities controller at a batch level. So it kind of starts with network scan. So local MDNS is the same way that we network scan in Express Network Utility, but it will scan for all of the controllers on that network, and you can manage them from here, or we can actually do a remote MDNS scan and get to a controller and then scan all of the controllers underneath that on a separate subnet. So kind of working in the constraints of some of the IT world at this point, but we're able to get to devices and do some functionality underneath that we would not be able to do without our controllers in place. So another thing that's very unique and interesting to this tool is he put macros in. So after I've scanned the controllers, I can right click and open an embedded browser inside of my tool. This is essentially exactly if I would have opened it in an external browser, but then there's a little record button in here, and it monitors all of the tasks that I'm doing in my web browser, and then I can save and exit that full macro and deploy it across all of my other controllers. So kind of a batch editing tool that's very powerful. So anything that I wanted to do that was in the UI that might cause me to log into hundreds of controls at a time, I can create a macro for that and deploy that all at the same time. So really powerful tool, pretty much awesome for the Eclipse framework in terms of like what the overlying operating system that we have and all of the tools that are able to be developed on top of that. These are tools that can be developed internally, or we will be probably releasing a lot of this stuff to the community as well in the future. So be looking out for that. And then we do have one more kind of tidbit on this. We're hoping that we get more feedback on bugs and features from you guys as well to better create these tools in the future and help you guys deploy those jobs a little faster. So that's it. Questions?
Questions?
So the sequence of operations generation seemed really cool. Is that something that, let's say you do a little bit of custom code with that. I mean, I'm assuming it isn't smart enough to like extrapolate that and add it to the sequence. So that would just be something you're modifying the PDF or whatever to do the changes?
Yeah, correct. The sequence of operations will be in the comments in the GFX and as a Word document. So if you have something custom on top of that, you can definitely add that to your GFX program and then add the language in those areas. What I would say to that is if you have a significant sequence that you're constantly seeing and maybe it's a feature request for the builder application, definitely let us know because we want that functionality to get you guys closer to getting the end product done and get you to 95 or 99%. If it only gets you to 80%, we want to make sure that that's the easiest possible for you. So all right, cool. Definitely let us know. Yep.
Any other questions? All right, super tough crowd. So we haven't had many questions, so I am not going to call them back up to the stage. And James Johnson had to leave anyway, so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the conversations. Thank you for your support and partnerships. The conference is complete. There are lunch boxes out in the hallway. A few vendors still left. Please, whatever you want to do, hang out. We'll see you next year. Have a great day.